TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donations.
Shalom ve'erev tov, good evening. Welcome to our daily TV7 Israel News Bulletin, broadcast from Jerusalem. Israel warns Damascus not to allow Turkey to entrench militarily in Syria. Syrian Foreign Minister Asaad al-Shaibani announces during a joint press conference with IAEA Director General Rafael Grossi that its country intends to keep tons of nuclear material found in an undisclosed location. And the United Arab Emirates voices hope for a prompt resolution to Iran's ongoing attacks against freedom of navigation in the Strait of Hormuz. U.S. Ambassador to Turkey Tom Baer claims that Israel's strikes at Syria's Abu-Duhur air base in the northwestern Idlib governorate carried a real risk of rapid escalation into a direct military confrontation between Israel and Turkey, as well as Syria. In a blitz of interviews to Israeli media networks and dailies, Ambassador Baer, who also serves as a presidential envoy to both Syria and Iraq, highlighted, quote, Turkish forces were not aware that the Israeli aircraft were en route to that specific base, nor of their intended purpose, and therefore could potentially have been inclined to scramble their own jets in the belief that they themselves were under attack. The American diplomat, who is known to promote Ankara's narratives in Washington, continued by voicing his own relief. No human life was harmed, and that the situation did not escalate. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office released a statement in which it claimed responsibility for the aerial strike on the Abu-Duhur airbase. The statement read, quote, Israel and Syria agreed to a status quo in security matters, which Syria was on the verge of breaching by permitting Turkish troops to deploy at an airbase near Aleppo. Israel repeatedly warned Syria that such a deployment would pose a threat to Israel's security. Syria chose to ignore these warnings. Israel will not tolerate threats to its security and would welcome a return to the status quo. It is interesting to know that while Damascus condemned Israel for its precision strike against the Syrian military airbase, it stopped short from responding to the allegations voiced by Jerusalem. In contrast, Turkey's Presidential Directorate of Communications released a statement this morning in which it attempted to spin Jerusalem's allegations. Ankara insisted that the strike stemmed from, quote, Netanyahu's intent to pursue expansionist and destabilizing policies in the region ahead of the elections in Israel. It is interesting to point out, however, that while the statement highlighted that Ankara intends to continue to cooperate with the Syrian government on a legitimate basis for the establishment of peace, stability, and prosperity in Syria, it stopped short from refuting Israel's allegations vis-à-vis Turkey's intentions to take over additional military bases in Syria. Meanwhile, in Damascus, Syrian Foreign Minister Ahmed al-Shaibani hosted the Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency, Rafael Mariano Grossi, during the course of which the former al-Qaeda field commander revealed that they had attained a large amount of nuclear material. And while Damascus's top diplomat formally committed to the IAEA that Syria's rulers would deliver the nuclear material to the agency, it has now changed its mind, emphasizing its right to a peaceful civilian nuclear program.
On July 17th, we sent an official message to the agency to announce that we found nuclear material at an undisclosed site. This material is not dangerous and would remain in Syrian custody, subject to the agency's guarantees. Syria ensures its legal right to use the material for civil and peaceful purposes in what harmonize with its national interests and international commitments.
The IAEA Director General, for his part, revealed that a second site was also located, in which tons of nuclear material was uncovered.
This validates the long-standing evaluation, the ITA, that a nuclear facility was being built in secrecy. And today, very important, and after your courageous decision to inform us that there was another place, another site where nuclear material had been stored, uh, we were able to access these decks. This has enormous importance, dear friends. Enormous importance because we're talking about a few tons of nuclear material that could be put to bad use. And Syria has decided to open up this site to the inspectors of the IAEA, and this material will be accounted for, will be put within the international safeguards system. And in this way, we will be able to work towards the restoration of Syria as a country in full compliance with all its legal obligations in the area of nuclear non-proliferation.
In a joint statement published subsequently, the IAEA and Syria, quote, agreed on concrete steps now being implemented to enable the agency to address the outstanding safeguards issues arising from activities undertaken under the former regime. Upon the completion of the inspection and of the verification activities, as agreed between the two sides, the Director General will report his findings and conclusions to the Board of Governors at the earliest possible date. The statement further noted that Syria and the agency will also expand their cooperation in the peaceful uses of nuclear science and technology in support of Syria's national development priorities. Turning to Jerusalem, where U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee, in an exclusive interview to Israel's Kan public station, stressed that the years-long situation in which the terror regime in Iran foments terror and seeks to acquire nuclear weapons is simply untenable.
At some point, the Iranian government is going to have to decide, do they have a future continuing to taunt the United States and Israel, continuing to do what they've done for 47 and a half years, and that's tell us they're going to kill us? Or do they finally come to the conclusion that their only way ahead is to give up nuclear aspirations and try to live like civilized people, something they have not done up to now?
Ambassador Huckabee further stressed President Donald Trump's unwavering commitment to ensure that the Ayatollah regime does not achieve nuclear weapon capabilities.
Well, they don't have a nuclear weapon right now.
Nuclear material.
They have some nuclear material. The president has said they're not going to be able to enrich it, and they're certainly not going to have a weapon. I think the one thing you can count on is the president will keep his word on that. Here's what people are missing. The president has already twice shown that he's willing to commit U.S. military power to deal with Iran. If he has to do it again, he will.
Meanwhile, in Tehran, Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesman Ismail Baghei unabashedly claimed that the reason the Ayatollah regime continues to attack commercial vessels in the Strait of Hormuz was the result of U.S. and Israeli strikes against Iranian military targets in yet another blatant display of the Islamic Republic's refusal to take responsibility for its own actions.
The insecurity of the Strait of Hormuz was imposed on us, on the region, and on the whole world. Its reason was the illegal military action by America and the Zionist regime.
Baghei continued by highlighting efforts by the Ayatollah regime and the Sultanate of Oman to alter the global rules-based order, effectively aimed at asserting sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz, which under international law is regarded as international waters.
Talks between Iran and Oman are continuing seriously. Regarding the text of the joint statement, views are being exchanged, and both sides have so far shown that they are determined to formulate a mechanism that ensures the interests and concerns of both sides, while at the same time ensuring the relevant considerations concerning international shipping. The issue is very complicated. For the first time, you are trying to devise a mechanism and arrangement that would both ensure the sovereignty and sovereign rights of the two coastal states and provide for the safe passage of commercial vessels through these waters. Another point is the number of actors seeking to exert influence in this process and, perhaps more importantly, the efforts by certain ill-intentioned parties to undermine it, who have shown that they never allow peace and security to prevail in the region and essentially prefer our region to remain in a constant state of conflict and turmoil.
Meanwhile, in Doha, Qatari Foreign Ministry spokesman Majid al-Ansari voiced hope for a speedy agreement between Iran and Oman, which in Qatar's perspective would help reignite talks between Tehran and Washington.
Our current focus is on this issue, the return to what was mentioned in the Memorandum of Understanding, and resuming negotiations between the two parties. These efforts are ongoing, of course, but as you know, we are also awaiting an agreement between the sisterly Sultanate of Oman and Iran regarding the Strait of Hormuz, which will, as we said, enable us to return to the framework of negotiations.
Meanwhile, in Abu Dhabi, UAE Energy Minister Suhail al-Mazraoui, in an interview to CNBC, highlighted his country's hope for a prompt resolution to the ongoing efforts by the Ayatollah regime in Iran to close the Strait of Hormuz.
The impact of closing the strait or restricting even the movement of ships in the Strait of Hormuz is something that every human in the planet of Earth will feel. That's something that needs to stop. That's something that we condemned, and that's something that the whole world is trying to attain to. So the impact is huge, and the impact need us as producers to look at the consumers. Now, the consumers are living a very tough time, not having the resources. The price of everything is going up because of the closure. So we as a responsible producer think that we need to be on the sides of the consumer and to ensure that we do as a country whatever we can to help the world economy and to help the situation worldwide.
Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News, which is made possible by the generosity of our viewers. If you're blessed by our productions and would like to help support TV7 Israel, which operates as a nonprofit, you can donate via our website at www.tv7israelnews.com. Please keep praying for the peace of Jerusalem and salvation of Israel. Jonathan Essen wishing you an Erev Mevorach, and God willing, until our next update, Shalom from Jerusalem.